that a mother or father of a child who's on social media and is concerned about what they might be looking at and talking to would have the right to check it out. But it would seem not. A bereaved mother is having to campaign for social media companies to reveal her teenage son's search history after he took his own life in 2022.
Yes, Ellen Roome still doesn't know why her son Jools died after a coroner was unable to rule his death as a suicide. Jools' mum, Ellen, joins us now. Good morning to you.
Hi.
I'm so sorry. What a beautiful boy. You know, how heartbreaking for you. And to still not have answers must make it so much harder.
It is. I think to lose a child under any circumstances is incredibly difficult. But to lose a child and think, why on earth is he not here? It is.
Because the thing is, this was a completely inexplicable death. Nobody has the faintest idea.
No.
Not family, not friends. The coroner couldn't make a decision. Nobody knows why. And therefore, you have every right to look for something that might give you a clue, or actually give you an explicit explanation for what happened. Can you just take us through how you've tried so far and how you've been denied to get access?
So I was quite shocked. So when the police do their investigation and Jools died, we just put it into the police's hands and went with the flow of leaving it with them. And I now know that apparently the browsing data you can download from social media companies is only stored for 90 days. So Jools' phone, I'm not sure on the exact timescale, I think it was the August or September. So Jools died in April. So we were never going to have his full browsing data anyway when you press the download button to get it. So we did download something, but it doesn't give us the full history.
Right.
And I wasn't strong enough until recently to say this doesn't. I've always been a bit of a fighter, so I'm determined that it just doesn't feel right. We should really make a difference and find out why. Well,
what's the argument for keeping these accounts locked from you, his mother? Privacy?
I actually don't know, and I've never got to the bottom of what law is stopping me having that. Why are they not giving me it? I don't understand.
So interestingly now, because the coroner was unable to rule his death as a suicide, a coroner now could get access, couldn't they, to the social media records, but because of the
So I went back to
then...
the coroner to ask that and said, I understand there's new powers that from the 1st of April you can get that access. But because Jools' inquest was closed before the 1st of April, then that doesn't fit. So I went back to my local MP, who's written to the Attorney-General, because the only way we can do it is to go to the High Court to reopen his inquest, to then demand, or the coroner would then be able to demand powers, which is, I think, ridiculous that we have to go to the High Court to get social media.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I was saying to you in the break, it's a little bit like you as his mother being denied access to his school bag.
I know.
If you were concerned that maybe there was a knife in there or something, or drugs, or something like that. Oh, no, it's his private property. You can't open his school. It's nonsense, isn't it? Absolute nonsense.
And I mean, by taking it to Parliament so that they would actually discuss it. I do understand there's privacy rules about children that are still alive. But I think if there was a parent that was... I don't know how that... It's not for me to debate it, but while children are alive, there are plenty of parents that are struggling with their children as self-harming and things like that. If Jools was alive now and he was self-harming, I would want to know what he was looking at.
I completely agree with you. I mean, far better to know in advance of a tragedy that occurred in your family and in your entire life here. Far better to get in there earlier and hopefully divert the child away from whatever it is that's damaging them.
And I think the coroner having new powers is great, but what, we're going to wait for children to die before we access that information? It's wrong.
It is wrong.
But I suppose they may be thinking that there would have to be safeguards in place for certain situations, certain family setups, for example. That it might not be applicable, might it? But so your petition that you've got is give parents or guardians a right to access social media accounts of their children, and you are now, I had a look just a few minutes ago, there we go, over 111,000 signatures. So that means that it will be discussed in Parliament. So you must be pleased about the fact that, you know, you've got that support and actually something will be done.
Well, it's quite amazing we did it, really, because they suddenly changed the timescales because of the election. They cut it off. So I think it was 5 days ago I got told, because I thought, well, we'll try for 10,000. And then I saw a letter that you get back from 10,000, which basically says, thanks for trying. And I went, I remember speaking to a friend who went, we're going for 100,000. And we thought, we've got a week to do it. And the general public has been amazing. They have just shared it far and wide, and we did 100,000
well,
in 5 days.
I can't imagine that total isn't going to go sky high now. Having this conversation.
We've only got until midnight tonight, though.
Fine, you've got to midnight tonight if you want to sign that petition.
Talk to us about your son, Jools. You know, how you'd want him to be remembered? Because obviously, you know, you're doing this in his name, aren't you, as well?
Jools had a very strong character. He was very feisty. And actually, I was pleased he was feisty because I think that gives you some determination and drive in life. But he was always polite. He always said, if you'd offer him a drink, he'd say, thank you for asking, but no thank you. And he was a polite, bright kid that would be very proud. And
when you look back at his last days, you must have gone over those last final conversations so many times. There wasn't the smallest hint of anything like this about to happen.
There's a video on our doorbell, ring doorbell, that says that he's saying goodbye to his friend and he says, bye, Monty, see you tomorrow. And it's normal. And I'd spoken to him before and I said, I'll be home in half an hour. And he was normal.
So when, in your mind's eye, you speculate, you're bound to speculate what it is you might find on his social media accounts, what are the possibilities that you think he might discover?
Well, there's various challenges. Jools was the first to climb to a tree the highest he could go or something like that. And so there's various challenges that would possibly be a cause. I don't know, but I'd like to know.
A challenge that might have gone wrong, basically.
Correct.
Yeah, I see. And we know from the public record that young people sometimes see awful things on their phones, and it can really disturb them. There's that possibility as well, isn't there, that he was accessing some kind of dark web material? And
it's terrifying that the more I've looked into it and meeting other parents that have lost their children, what their children have seen, and it terrifies me to think what our children are seeing. We have to do more to protect them, and that's where I do think social media companies have to do more to protect children and what they see.
It's really difficult, isn't it, because they've got these phones, the way of accessing all sorts of material, and as a parent, it is worrying, isn't it, as to what's going on when you don't know what your child could be looking at.
I know. It terrifies me. And I looked at Jools' phone the other day. I sort of look at it in the hope that somehow I'm going to have some miraculous vision again. I've gone through it so many times. And one of the things that popped up on TikTok, I just thought, I don't want to see that. And I don't want children to see it. It was probably nothing, but I just switched off the whole thought of seeing something awful like that.
Well, in a different interview on this subject, we discovered that nearly half of primary school-aged children have seen things like beheadings.
Awful.
Can you imagine that? I mean,
no.
I've reached my age and I've never seen anything like that. I wouldn't want to either. But kids are sharing these images in the playground. They are seeing explicit images of this kind of terrible event. Look, we wish you all the best with the campaign.
Thank you so much for coming in.
I can't believe it won't succeed because it is absolutely underwritten by common sense. Absolute common sense.
And we hope that you find answers for what happened to your beautiful boy. Thank you. Just to say, a Snapchat spokesperson has said that we have extra protections for under 18s. We do offer parental tools so parents can see who their teens are communicating with and report any concerns. We support the aims of the Online Safety Act and are able to provide parents with access to data once we've followed legal steps to verify their identification. So that's the statement from Snapchat.
TikTok has contacted Ellen about arranging a meeting, and they don't want us to give any details about that before they've spoken to you first. So there's a sense of maybe of movement here. I
had an email yesterday, which I haven't had time to respond to, with some timescales, so I'll go.
Good.
Hopefully there's progress from
keep
that
us in the loop on this. We'd love to talk to you again as things develop.
And we should just say, if you have been affected by any of the issues that we've been discussing, you can find advice and support at itv.com/helpline.